I'll tell you this, Kyle. Here's another one I've wondered about, and that is Pettersson. Elias Pettersson from the Canucks. And remember, he has control, but look, all of a sudden, he's got to play better, and that 11.6 is, everyone's been talking about that, I know. But again, the ground has shifted here in a huge way. I've sat there and I said, where could he go that could be good for him? I don't know. I wonder if the Penguins with Crosby and Malkin might be good for him.
8:01 on a Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. Halford, Bruff, Sportsnet 650. But it's not Bruff in the chair. It's a shocked, dare I say shocked, Greg Balloch. Laddie, we played that audio earlier in the show, so it's mostly theatrical. Shock. Yeah, there it is. But we will unpack that audio from 32 Thoughts with Kevin Woodley coming up in a second here. Before we get to that, we got a lot of business to attend to. You are listening to the Halford and Bruff Show on Sportsnet 650. Halford and Bruff in the Morning is brought to you by Sands & Associates. Their clients often say, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off of me. Don't say it. If the debt is weighing you down, visit them online at sands-trustee.com. We are in hour 3 of the program. Hour 3 is brought to you by the BC Construction Safety Alliance, making safety simpler by giving construction companies the best in tools, resources, and safety training. Visit them online at bccsa.ca.
We're broadcasting live from the Kintec studio. Step strong with orthotics and footwear from Kintec. And guests on Sportsnet 650 call in on the Able Auctions hotline. Email sales@ableauctions.ca to get your business assets sold and your building cleared.
Let's go now to the Able Auctions hotline. Our next guest is a presentation of White Rock Hyundai. It's Kevin Woodley from NHL.com and In Goal Magazine here on the Halford and Bruff Show on Sportsnet 650. What up, Woods?
You want to talk about shocked? Me and Greg Balloch hosting?
Uh-huh.
Like I feel like this is an episode of this is like Independent George and Relationship George cannot be in the same place at the same time. This is worlds colliding. Worlds colliding.
You know, when I saw Woodley's name on the rundown, I thought, it's great we're having Kevin on. He's surely not going to embarrass me whatsoever during his hit at any point.
It's
right,
adorable.
Kevin?
It's adorable watching you two interact.
It's about time, Greg. That's all I got to say. There we go.
Greg got to do Blue Jays talk and now goalie talk.
It's
so
amazing.
the cipher is complete. Before we get to any of that, though, that audio that we played right up the top, that's from the latest 32 Thoughts from Elliot Friedman. And I said, look, I don't think the biggest takeaway is necessarily the landing spot for Elias Pettersson, although he did say that Pittsburgh might be one. I think, Friedge is zeroing in on something here that he's been working on through the Leo Carlson offer sheet and through writing on sportsnet.ca and through the podcast. It's that there are big things happening in the NHL right now. It feels like the landscape has significantly changed. Teams are not shy from making the big move. Teams are not shy from pulling the trigger. They're not shy from making offer sheets, obviously, and that this may be the right landscape and the right time and the right environment to finally make a move on Elias Pettersson. Your thoughts on that, Kev?
Well, I mean, Leo Carlson at $18 million. Like, you're right. Everything has shifted. Everything has changed this summer, and somewhat dramatically. So would it be as shocking as it would have been a year ago to find a landing spot, especially after another year where he underperforms the contract? No. Does Pittsburgh make sense for a lot of the reasons? Yeah. Yes. Like, because Crosby and Malkin won't be there forever. Would you like to have him there seeing how things are done before having him potentially, obviously not replace, but move into some of those spots they're about to vacate? Like, I can see how the market, as everything else shifts, so will the market on Elias Pettersson. Not to the point where he's a positive asset without retention, and that's a big part of this. But if they're looking to move from him, just move from him, then that increasingly becomes possible as the cap goes up and the contract looks less and less onerous. Where it goes from here, we'll see. But it seems pretty clear from all the reporting, none of me, just reading the actual people who are insiders, that efforts have been made and that's the intention on this end. And as that market shifts, the possibilities on the other end seem to increase, or at least become plausible without retention.
Yeah, I also got to wonder
It's
if
not likely, but plausible.
well, retention or no, I've almost moved past that into the sort of the motivational part of it from the organization standpoint. Like the cuts are happening, the rebuild is well underway, the tearing back to the studs is underway. Is this sort of an inevitability? Does this move have to happen? Because that was the other sense I got from listening to Fried speak as well, is that if they're truly going to move forward, this is the one move that needs to happen. Almost from I don't know, like a philosophical standpoint. Like, can you truly move forward and embrace new culture and a new room and a new identity with that big a piece of your past hanging around?
Oh, that's a fair question. And he's certainly not the only one. Like, it's funny because
He's definitely not the only one. That's a good point.
well, and this is the thing. Like, every time you talk about culture and locker room and stuff, like the internet immediately jumps to, and guys still being around that were part of not necessarily great things. Everybody jumps to Pettersson, and there is more than that there. But it's a really good question. I don't know. Obviously they're trying to, and that would tell you that they feel maybe not urgency, and retention is important because of the cash value, because of everything right now is cash in, cash out. That's what it appears to be. So that becomes an important part of this calculation. And I guess if you're moving up on the salary then and not taking anything back, I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, they seem motivated to do it. Motivated and must do are two different things. There's a lot of summer left. There's a lot of guys that haven't signed yet. I'm as curious as everyone else, but I don't have any answers about the likelihood of it happening this summer. But I agree with you on the premise of a clean slate and this organization sort of truly rebooting and starting it up again. I'm just not sure we're there yet in terms of how dramatically this market has shifted for it to become, again, go from plausible. It's become plausible, but likely. I'm still not sure. I'd be holding my breath waiting for it.
Kevin, you talk about tearing it down to the studs, and a lot of what you just said about Pettersson and the reasons they need to possibly move past him, I feel like that can apply to Demko as well. Like, what is his thought process going forward now as a member of the Canucks currently? What is he even planning going into this season coming up, seeing the type of roster that he's going to be playing behind? He can't be happy. And what's his next move?
I never thought of it. Like, honestly, I think his focus is just entirely on getting healthy. I never thought of it in terms, and you know, like how deeply you believe it depends on who you talk to. But at the end of the day, he's always said nothing but the right things about wanting to see this through. But you're right. Like, this is going to be a difficult task. That said, like, this lineup, as bleak as it looks, will probably defend better than the one that came into last season with playoff aspirations and a total lack of cohesion from a system standpoint.
You're right.
Right? Like, from a goaltending standpoint, you look at it two ways. Like, oh, yes, the future is not bright. We're not going to make the playoffs. I'm not winning a cup here. That's one hand. The other hand is, like, from an environment standpoint, it might actually get – I actually am quite willing to bet that when we have this conversation a month and a half into the season, despite a roster that is clearly not as good on paper, that the metrics defensively are better than what they were at that point last season, right? So from a team being organized in front of you, and we talk a lot about goaltending not existing in a vacuum, you know, I think you'll actually see improvement there, even if the names on the roster sheet don't look as good, just with the coaching change. So that's the other side of it. I think his focus, and let's be clear, I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to him in quite some time, but I think his focus is just on getting healthy. And, you know, the fact that he's back on the ice, I mean, inevitably in this market, when a goalie's back on the ice, you know, doing stuff privately because there's no ice at Rogers Arena, I hear about it. And, you know, he's, you know, 2 weeks ago out, I won't say where, but, you know, like, he wasn't just on the ice. He's already butterflying. Like, he's doing butterfly drops. He's doing skate movement that includes down movement. And as you know, Greg, like, that's a major step.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to be on the ice and skating upright and just T pushes and shuffles. It's another thing when you start dropping to your knees and moving around from your knees. So which is why I asked Ryan Johnson whether, and he was non-committal to it, but it sounds like he'll be ready close to, if not for the start of training camp. And as much as I understand I fully understand the consternation around, again, more surgeries. And as much as he's the only goalie I haven't been able to find any other examples of goalies having their hips done twice.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, Greg, like goalies getting their hips done, that's common.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
Most of them come out on the other side, and a lot of other things feel better. There are literally past examples of goalies going through seasons with, repeated groin injuries and knee pain and stuff like that. I've actually, there's a couple examples where I've been on record, like, has anybody checked his hips? And like 6 months later, he's having hip surgery,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so there, so many of the things in the chain tie into the hips, and he talked about it, zero internal rotation. Clearly there was damage there, and but when you watched him, that butterfly was still like wide enough to make most goalies jealous. Right. So he may not he was forcing that rotation if it wasn't happening naturally. And so that's going to affect other areas. So the fact they fixed that, again, there are questions around the fact that he's done his hips twice now. Again, not a lot of examples, but if this was the first time, I'd be buying into hey, we think we fixed everything. Right. Like if it wasn't for the track record of so many injuries, I think a lot of people would be like, hey, like this quite often a goalie has this done and everything else gets better. So I think there's still a hope on their end, on his end, that's where they're at. The fact he's doing what he's doing on the ice already bodes well. And beyond that, I can't speak to what his mindset is about this team being, frankly, in a rebuild again, even if it's the first time intentional, because it's not the first time it's felt like that from the player's perspective. I would think that 100% of the focus, he's here in Vancouver, right? Like he stayed in Vancouver this summer to do the rehab and do the work and do it under their eye. And that's a pretty significant commitment on its own, because he's not a guy that typically stays. Very few of them do, but like that's a major disruption to his off-season routine, and it's all designed towards making sure he's ready to go at the start of the season. So where this goes, I don't know. But whether he wants to stay or wants to go, the only way option B becomes a viable alternative, we talk about the market shifting on Pettersson and changing that possibility, is for him to play games and show the league that he's healthy, right? Because I guarantee you, in a world where the UFA market had two goalies that had positive goals saved above expected, Daniil Tarasov barely, and the other one, Connor Ingram, unsigned, if he shows he can stay healthy for even 3/4 of a season with a moderate workload, there will be interest. I think Rick Dolly has already reported there are teams that poked around this summer. So there will be interest if he plays games. And if this is not me putting words in his mouth, but if that's something he wants.
Yeah, I think that's why I've been tantalized by the Demko story, because if he gets healthy and he starts contributing, the return could actually be quite good, you'd think, for a guy like Demko, with the little amount of goaltending talent available. But like you said, it really hinges on him getting healthy and just proving to other GMs that he can play in NHL games.
Well, I wouldn't get too excited about the return, because I think one of the reasons there hasn't been a Connor Hellebuck trade yet is because the Jets haven't liked the return. And so let's wait and see what the 3-time Vezina winner with a sterling reputation for staying healthy, let's see what he fetches before we start talking about return on a guy who has yet to make it through an entire season as a number one healthy. But I'm with you in terms of what he's capable of. Absolutely. When he's right, and it's been a few years now, but when he's right, there are very few that do what he does. And listen, I know there's a lot of, like, can you guys tell me which team had the best goaltending last season in the entire NHL?
I should know this, but
I don't.
If Greg was behind, he'd have the Jeopardy music going by now.
Yeah.
He was on the other end. He's so sharp. It's the Calgary Flames.
Wow.
The Calgary Flames, after a slow start from Dustin Wolf. Hey, listen, in a bad environment, if you outperform it, you're going to rocket up the goal.
Cooley was very good too.
Right?
Yeah.
Cooley was the best goalie on a rate stat in the entire NHL last year, and Wolf, after a tough first month, finished top 10. So where does elite goaltending on a bad team get you? It gets you the 6th draft pick instead of a guaranteed spot in the top 3. So at some point, you have to ask that question, too, if you're the Vancouver Canucks. Like, where are we in this rebuild? When we come out of it, what age will these guys be? Will they still be able to contribute? But for now, the focus should just be on making sure Demko gets and stays healthy, and all that work is being done, and managing the minutes properly. Maybe rolling with 3 goalies to make sure you've got some insurance, because they don't have any veterans signed for the American Hockey League. And I will say this, like, as much as people worry about can a goalie wreck, or 2 good goalies, let's not forget, because I think Kevin Lankinen will get closer to what we saw to Kevin Lankinen again this year, like what he's capable of. 2 good goalies, can they wreck a rebuild? No, but they can prop you up longer than you probably should actually be as a team. But it does matter. I buy into the idea that, like, young defenders need to be able to play with a certain level of freedom out there, where they're not worried that every mistake ends up in the back of their net, where they can get bailed out, where they can go out and build some confidence and not worry that every turnover results in a face-off at center ice after the next whistle. So I think that matters. Like, goaltending provides leadership. It provides a backbone of a team. Obviously, I'm biased on the importance of the position, but sending all these young players in this rebuild into a season without the type of goaltending they might get out of these 2, there's problems in that as well.
Now, from a team that has not a lot of expectations in terms of playoffs and doing any damage, to a team that has a lot of expectations, a Canadian team, the Edmonton Oilers. I know you're a big Frederik Andersen guy. They signed him to a pretty team-friendly deal, 1 year, $1 million. And they also bring in Devin Levi. What's your take on the new tandem in Edmonton?
Well, I mean, I don't think they're the tandem. There's Tristan Jarry is going to be a part
true.
of it.
Yeah, I guess you throw his name into the mix.
I think you're going to see, I think you're going to see more teams. Like, I think we're finally at that point where, after years of the knee-jerk reaction to 3 goalies being 3 doesn't fit into 2, you can't manage it. Like, and even Jarmo Kekalainen takes over in Buffalo, and one of the first things he says is we're going to end the 3 goalie experiment. And by the end of the year, Lindy Ruff's telling media that, no, it worked. We made it work, and we'll probably do it again. Like, I think you're going to see more teams, if they have the cap space as the cap grows, especially if they have a guy like, Levi requires waivers. Tolopilo requires waivers. And this is the danger of being a team that's recounting. Like, this is one of the things. Like, you used to be able to sort of count on certain guys hitting the waiver wire, and your ability to sort of stock up your depth by claiming them. But as more teams consider this and have the room to do so, and I think Edmonton will probably be one, it's twofold. It's these guys don't hit waivers, so you sort of can't count on it. And there's some good names that are going to hit waivers. Like, we saw Toronto make a move just to make sure Hildeby didn't, because they knew they wouldn't keep him. You look at Levi Muralainen, like, Ottawa had me scratching my head a little bit with the Arison move, certainly with the Arison contract. And now, if they don't keep Muralainen and they put him on waivers, like, I'd make a strong, as bad as last year was, the year before was really good. And there are a lot of guys who this time last summer, and when I say guys, I mean goalie directors and goalie coaches and goalie scouts, who had him ranked in the top 10 on the prospect list. I would think somebody takes a flyer on him. So in Edmonton, I think they hold 3. Honestly, it's really hard to answer who's going to have success there, because I have no idea how they're going to play. And hopefully they do. Like, hopefully they baked in. We're way past that. And this is part of the Connor Hellebuck discussion too. Hopefully, and for most teams I think we are, but certainly not all, and I have examples, we're way past the days of he's a good goalie, he'll be a good goalie here. Hopefully you have an idea how you're going to play, how you're going to defend in Edmonton. Every team gives up chances, but you get to choose sort of which ones you're willing to live with. And hopefully that fits the guys they have. I do know who I feel sorry for, and that's Peter Aubrey, the goaltending coach, because if they do keep 3, you could not have 3 more different styles. And so working with each one to sort of figure out what makes them feel good and what their strengths are, and then sort of managing that throughout a season, like, that's going to be a task. It's one I know he's up to, but it's not going to be, it's really not going to be as easy as most people from the outside would just assume. Freddie Andersen had an .868 expected save percentage in Carolina last year. So everyone's like, oh, he's going to a bad defensive team from a good defensive team. Well, listen, Carolina was good defensively in terms of quantity. They didn't give up quantity. they gave up quality. 868 was the lowest expected save percentage, the toughest by shot quality environment for any goalie in the entire NHL last season.
Wow.
So he can handle that. What I worry about is if Edmonton spends a lot of time sort of collapsing in their own zone. Like Carolina was so aggressive, they give up these rush plays and rush chances, but they didn't get hemmed in their own zone much at all. And if Edmonton does, if they decide to play more passive, sort of collapse to the front of the net style, and the puck's being zipped around on the perimeter, that's a lot of wear and tear on a big body that has already struggled to make it through seasons healthy. The knee that kept him out in the final kept him out here during the regular season, just based on a bus ride when their charter broke down from Seattle to Vancouver. So the injury risk is real there, but obviously I like the goaltender when he's healthy, and I think everybody saw what he's capable of in the Cup final. Devin Levi, exceptional talent, needs to back it up. Take notes. Go watch Dustin Wolf, and this would be my advice for Peter Aubry too. 6-foot goaltender, everybody talks about, including Levi, these guys can succeed. They can't succeed by being aggressive. The stereotypes of small goalies needing to play further out are dead. If you don't play a contained game, you can't survive in today's NHL. Like, I truly believe that. And what I saw of Levi in the American League, there was just still too much aggression to succeed in the NHL. So that's one of the big adjustments they have to make there.
Frantic at times is how I would describe it, but moving
the
up.
skill to pull it off, the speed to pull it off, though.
He does. We've seen it at the World Juniors, so hopefully he can put it together. Maybe not against the Canucks, but I'd like to see him succeed at some point. One final one from me, Woody. The Sergei Bobrovsky signing in Toronto, 3-year deal for the 37-year-old. Can he get it done? And is that tandem that he's got with Stolarz working? Is that going to be a positive thing for the Leafs moving forward?
I like how they built their depth chart, right? Like, clearly, I thought Hildeby, when they made the move to move out Wold, that Hildeby would be stepping up. Akhtiamov outplays, gets the net ahead of Hildeby in the American Hockey League championship run. So, like, it's your perfect storm.
Kind of a knee-jerk, though, is it not, to give Hildeby the boot as soon as one other prospect kind of leapfrog him there?
Well, I mean, yeah, I would have probably had him in as the backup.
Yeah.
His adjusted save percentage was top 15 in the league this past season. But we just talked about Levi Merilainen. Like, they would know Curtis Sanford as good as he is, Henry Toivonen in the American Hockey League as good as he is, and he's going to get an NHL job soon with the work he keeps doing in the American League. They probably haven't, like, statistically, Hildeby absolutely would have kept him. But we said the same thing about Merilainen, and then when he had to be the guy rather than just the guy coming in to replace the guy, it just folded in Ottawa. Maybe they see something where they don't think there's a bigger role. Maybe they just see more upside in Akhtiamov. And they're clearly in a win-now mode with what's going on with Austin Matthews, and they get McKenna. So I understand it. Even if you're right, I would have kept the two younger guys and one older guy as opposed to two older guys, one of whom's injury prone, and Stolarz may not be 37 like Bob, but he's been around a while. At the same time, those two as a tandem were great. I put out a tweet after the Bob signing. Made $70 million in Florida. In 6 of the 7 years, his adjusted save percentage was below league average. In other words, he was a below league average goaltender. He underperformed his defensive environment. A lot of the years, you could hardly see it because the defensive environment was so good. But he got outplayed by Anthony Stolarz, his backup, when he was in Florida that year, which led to Stolarz more opportunity. He got outplayed by other backups. Regular season Bob hovers right around or just below league average. And I wonder if the Leafs can survive that to get to the playoffs, where playoff Bob is one of the best in the league. And even regular season Bob, as much as the overall numbers aren't as flattering, he still has this ability to make these game and momentum changing saves like we saw in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, the overall numbers aren't nearly as flattering as a contract. He's still a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's still a guy whose work ethic is going to absolutely rub off on Akhtiamov. Like, the impact for him on Akhtiamov may be worth $21 million itself if you believe in the talent of the kid and what having an example like him around. Heck, Thatcher Demko, we talk about his hips and everything he's been through. Let's not forget that Bob, through his years in Columbus, was also injured a lot. And he started to evolve his game, ironically, under Ian Clark. So if it was urgent situations and you had to get back to the post, you did it how you've always done it. but where there was less urgency and it was just a standard recovery, watch Bob go back to his post. He doesn't slide in on his knees anymore. He regains his feet because it's less wear and tear on the hips. It's less wear and tear on the lower body that Bob used to break down all the time and now has been mostly healthy, for the last 5 or 6 years. So I don't mind the moves. I think they've got a pretty nice organizational flow chart for goaltending. I'm not sure you get the best out of Bob in the regular season. I wonder how that market reacts if it goes sideways early on as he learns to get comfortable there. But if they're good enough to sort of prop him up or get through some of the hiccups early on, Stolar's had one down year, and that was last year, and he was still above league average in a year where almost every UFA I outlined earlier wasn't. Like, that's a really good tandem, and there's the potential should they get to the playoffs for them to be a tandem that lasts more than a round, which in Leafs land is a victory.
Kev, this was great, bud. Thanks for taking the time to do it. We appreciate it.
Somebody woke you up from the nap while me and Greg talk goaltending?
I was dialed in. Dialed in.
It's good to talk to you, Greg. Thanks, boys. Have a great week.
Thanks,
See you,
Woody.
Kev. Appreciate it, buddy. That's Kevin Woodley on Sportsnet 650. A presentation of White Rock Hyundai. Visit the showroom on King George in White Rock or whiterockhyundai.com.
I didn't think we'd have a Hannu Toivonen reference on the show today when we started, but I'm glad Kevin dropped the name.
I was secretly hoping for one while I paid attention to all of that hit. Before we go to break, I need to tell you about the Hometown Heroes Lottery. Your absolute final chance to become a multimillionaire, as Greg mentioned earlier. The deadline is this Friday. Hurry before time runs out. Tickets are available at London Drugs. You must be 19 plus to play. Know your limit. Play within it. One final half hour to go on the Halford and Bruff Show on Sportsnet 650. It is what we learn time. Get them in now. Dunbar Lumber text message in basket is 650-650. Tell us, what did you learn over the last 72 hours in sports? Hashtag it WWL. It's your chance to be on the radio, and it's coming up next on the Halford and Bruff Show on Sportsnet 650.
For my favorite part of the show. What did I say? Talk to the audience. Oh, God, this is always dead.
It's what we learn time. It's what we learn time. It's what we learn time. On the show.
8:34 on a Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. Halford Bruff, Sportsnet 650. Halford Bruff of the Morning is brought to you by Sands & Associates. Their clients often say, there's no judgment. You feel cared for and understood. Get debt-free at sands-trustee.com. We are in hour 3 of the program. It is what we learn time. Hour 3 is brought to you by the BC Construction Safety Alliance, making safety simpler by giving construction companies the best in tools, resources, and safety training. Visit them at bccsa.ca. Not bad.
That was to witness that right in front of you. Wow.
It's a seminal moment, isn't it?
You truly are
What do you call
professional.
Thank you, Greg. That voice you're hearing, you've heard it before. It's Greg Balloch, better known as Laddie. Laddie is now co-hosting the Halford and Bruff Show. Not permanently. Bruff is fine. He's just away for a couple days. So Laddie's very graciously stepped in and co-hosted. And the reviews are in, folks. They love Laddie. They love the dog. I don't know. The talking dog really does it for him.
I don't know if all the reviews have been positive.
That one guy didn't like you, but we blocked him right away. That's
He
how
really
we work
didn't
here.
like me.
Yeah, that's how we work here. Anything negative, you get blocked. And we're gonna play some Donald Trump audio here. So I envision some more blocks in the not too distant future.
Wow, a lot of 250 area code text coming in right
You
now.
always do that
You say
bit,
the same line every
and it
time.
kills every time. Zach is gonna start what we learned. Take it away, regular Zach.
Well, you set it up on a tee for me. Donald Trump explained in, as you can imagine, logical and reasonable terms exactly why the U.S. should not have to sustain that red card for Balogun. Here is Trump explaining exactly why it wasn't even a foul.
But all I did, I asked for a review because I didn't think it was a foul. And, again, I'm good at this stuff. I didn't think it was a foul. I thought it was two great athletes that crashed into each other and got entangled. That was not a guy punching somebody in the face or anything that would be different. And I think it's a terrible. If they wouldn't allow a top player, maybe the best, maybe among the best players on the team to play, I think it would have had a big stain. And I related just that feel. I didn't tell him what to do. I can't tell him what to do. But and I don't believe he made the decision. I think it was a committee that made the decision. And they made the right decision because, number one, it wasn't a foul. And you want to see a game with your best players.
You heard it there first. Not even a foul, guys.
Okay,
so of course
so
it's not going
The
to
soccer expert.
I'm gonna
Donald
gloss over most of that. Just focus on a couple things here. So there was a report from Axios yesterday that said exactly what Trump said, that the call placed to Infantino was to get an explanation and not to initiate the suspension. Because, again, I'll give credit where credit is due here. Nobody from a position of authority, be it political or at FIFA, can go in and actually rescind the red card. All you can do, theoretically, under Article 27 of the FIFA bylaws, is suspend the suspension. Theoretically, he's got to serve this at some point. He just doesn't have to serve it tonight, 5 o'clock when they take on Belgium.
Could they not suspend it indefinitely?
Well,
Is that not the same thing?
here's the kicker. You knew that this was going to open a Pandora's box, and it has. According to The Athletic, Adam Crafton this morning, the French Football Federation has now appealed to FIFA to rescind a yellow card given to Michael Olise in their round of 16 win over Paraguay. Now, the reason for this is that a yellow card was handed out during the match. Yellow cards are not reviewable on video, but upon replay, it's pretty clear that what was thought to be a strike to the face of the Paraguayan player was not. The referee missed it. Olise grabbed the jersey. And what the French are saying is that we want that yellow card rescinded now in the event that he picks up another one and now would be forced to miss an important match. I think that this is more performative than anything else. Now, I'm not suggesting the French are putting on an act, but I think putting forth this appeal is more about, hey, you've opened the Pandora's box. We're just following suit.
They're poking the bear a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I know that UEFA has put together a statement condemning this suspension of the suspension. I know the Belgian FA has filed its appeal. Sepp Blatter, no stranger to being the president of FIFA and also corruption, has come out and spoken publicly and posted a statement on social media this morning condemning this decision. This has taken all of the oxygen over the last 24 hours at the World Cup.
Sepp Blatter just wagging his finger. Shame.
So I'll say that. So someone actually texted into the Dunbar Lumber text message in basket this morning because you guys haven't barely mentioned the England-Mexico match, and you haven't mentioned Erling Haaland and Norway dispatching of the Brazilians. And I said, we've spent an hour talking about Canada soccer, and we had to spend a lot of time talking about this story because it is now the biggest story of the World Cup. It is everywhere. And I guarantee you, right up until kickoff today, there's going to be about 3 to 4 more twists or turns, as far as I can imagine.
Can you just give him another red card tonight for the most minorest of infractions, just out of spite?
Just right away.
The old spite card.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's stopping them?
We got to move things along. Mook, how that? Laddie, now in the driver's chair, true to form. You're going to go baseball for your What We Learned. This is a good one. This is a good one.
I can't be denied now.
No.
I have to do my What We Learned. So I learned, you're talking about the All-Star game when we had our Vladdy discussion. I was declining his All-Star invite. 2 Canadians are going to be on the All-Star teams this year. Miami Marlins infielder Otto Lopez, former Vancouver Canadian, former Blue Jays prospect, and Cleveland Guardians closer Cade Smith. And Cade Smith's an interesting one. It's his 3rd MLB season, and he is actually the top closer. He has 26 saves this year, 57 strikeouts in 37 games. And he's from Abbotsford.
The Abbotsford product.
An Abbotsford native. So congrats to the two of them. I always love to see good Canadian content in baseball. We need more of it. And Otto Lopez, Cade Smith, congratulations to make the All-Star team.
He went to MEI out in Abbotsford and then played college ball at the University of Hawaii. Maybe the biggest cultural shift from high school university ever, going from the Mennonite Educational Institute to Hawaii. But shout out to Cade Smith, maybe the most anonymous saves leader at the All-Star
Yeah.
break that I can ever imagine. I had no idea he was the saves leader, but yeah, good on him. So yeah, 2 Canadians to the MLB All-Star game, very cool. No Vladdy, that's fine.
Well, he was voted, but
He's just not gonna
he's
go.
not going to go.
And
He's
we
not gonna
mook how
show.
that. And then regular Zach, I think he wants to get in that chair one day. So he's now brought not 1, but 2 what we learned to the table. This one's a quick one. What do you got?
I just wanted to point out that Jordan Henderson may have had the worst performance in English footballing history last night. Despite the incredible game, he played 0 minutes. And in that 0 minutes, managed to get not only a yellow card, but a season-ending injury
Well, okay.
in 0 minutes.
Technically, he didn't break his arm during the match. He did get a yellow during the
Post-game
match.
That's
celebration.
even worse.
If anyone didn't see it, so Jordan Henderson, veteran midfielder for the English national side, got brought back in for this World Cup. Hasn't been a factor at all. He's mostly there for the vibes and the leadership. After the match, he tried to jump one of the signage boards to go celebrate with the rest of his England mates who had found all the England supporters at Azteca. I think it was I want to say it was before they started doing Wonderwall, but I don't have the exact timing down. Whatever the case. The good part for Henderson was he made it over the board the first time. The bad part was when he tried to get back over the signage board the second time. He didn't clear it. And he fell like directly on his wrist. Like all of his body weight was on his wrist. I don't know the severity of the break or the fracture or whatever, but he clearly broke it to some fashion or cracked it and had to go in for surgery right away. And
They were circling him, and he was not good.
He got stretchered off, which
Yeah.
for a wrist injury really signifies.
I
it's
wonder
not
if it
great.
was like a compound fracture or
Yeah.
something. Like I wonder if
Still singing Wonderwall as they stretched him off, though.
God, he loves that song. Loves that song.
Feel bad laughing about this. Like it's going to be a pretty bad injury for him.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean it's a very bad injury.
Yeah.
But we
It is
laugh. Okay,
funny how it happened, though.
counterpart, we laugh at everything, and it is kind of funny.
That's true. That is true.
Now I'll say this: we don't have the audio, unfortunately, but Harry Kane did a walk-up interview with BBC, had completely lost his voice, sounds 10 times worse than my voice, and was asked about Jordan Henderson. And at first, I thought he was getting choked up. He's like, "We lost Endo," but then I realized it's because he couldn't talk, and his voice had been completely shot. But yeah, it was an
It kind
eventful.
of sounded like Kermit the Frog.
A little bit, yeah. It was an eventful evening, and for everyone, but none more so than Jordan Henderson. Okay, mook out that. Fire up the dot matrix. Humanoid Submission, What We Learn is brought to you as always by AJ's Pizza on East Broadway. From corporate events to special events, there's no order too large. Order online at ajs.pizza. I almost said no order too large.
No order too large.
You just power through it, though.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do, power through it. Do you have the inbox up and ready, Greg? I'm gonna bestow you the honors. Do the first humanoid What We Learned.
A lot of Jay's haters in the inbox. I don't know if it's just because I'm here.
It is.
Have you noticed an
Robin
uptick?
Surrey had one.
It seems that when the Mariners are doing well, they come out of the woodwork. But here's one. Robin Surrey. What I've learned, it finally seems like the delusions of going back to a World Series are not only dissipating, but the realization from a certain Halbro host are setting in that the Blue Jays are what they are. There's no turning the sinking ship around.
2 hashtags on this one. One is sorry, not sorry, and the other one is go Mariners.
Oh, he's a Mariners fan. I
Can
didn't
you believe
realize
it? Can you believe it? So if I was to ask you right now, and there's still a lot of baseball to be played, but if I was to ask you right now, Greg, is this thing done and dusted or the Blue Jays cooked? What would you say?
I would not say that.
Oh,
Simply for the fact that it's baseball.
Yeah.
And you can get healthy and go on a run. And there's still plenty of season. There's no longer season than the MLB season. So if there is a sport where you're going to make a comeback, and the Jays are only, I think, 3 or 4 games out of a wild card spot.
Yep.
It's going to be in the baseball season. So I feel like to write them off at this point would be a little early. It's not looking good.
follow-up question. How do they start to generate more offense, either through a strategic approach at the plate or something at the deadline?
Well, it might take something at the deadline, get in a new bat to the lineup. But I think you think about last year's team
Yeah.
and how they made it all happen, right? It was like death by 1,000 cuts,
Yeah.
nickel and dime them until you get the runs back.
Second half of the season, Bo was phenomenal.
Yeah, they're never out of a game because they can just claw back. We've seen none of that this year. None of that, except for maybe Ernie Clement. He's
Yeah,
the only
yeah,
guy
yeah.
that's really been the kind of the same guy that he was last year.
That's fair.
And I think they just need to get back to that because it's just, we had Zach Warden on. He mentioned the fact that Vladdy isn't hitting obviously has a ripple effect down the rest of the lineup. But you got Okamoto there with almost 20 home runs. So the power is still there in the lineup. But it's just there's no cohesion. There's no game plan, it feels like. There's the same guy. It feels like it's a totally different team than the team that would just work pitchers to death last year. And we saw it all throughout the playoffs last season. So they need to get back to that, obviously. What they're doing now isn't working. But getting healthy, I think, is the biggest part of that. And it starts and begins and ends with Vlad.
Colin and Twassen, hashtag WW What We Learned. Canada should be a consistent participant in World Cups for years to come. Not just because we have more talent than ever, but more so because so many teams make it in now. If Curacao can make World Cups out of CONCACAF, then Canada should be a lock moving forward. Expanded field, for sure, will help. That being said, there were a couple reasonably solid CONCACAF countries, Costa Rica among them, that didn't make it out of the region this time. I will be very curious to see what Canada looks like next time through qualifying, because now they will be considered one of the favorites. And when they go to some of these more treacherous CONCACAF countries and they're away, and that becomes one of the biggest challenges and, quite frankly, one of the biggest matches for Honduras, El Salvador, take your pick. It becomes an entirely different challenge and an entirely different approach. And we didn't get to see Canada go through qualifying this year, right? I mean, it was one of the most difficult parts of the lead up to the World Cup was finding meaningful competitive matches where you could test the guys that were going to be thrown into the fire at the World Cup. I mean, that's part of the beauty of qualifying. Part of the risk is that you don't qualify, but part of the beauty of it is that you get as close to a World Cup experience as you can. Be very curious to see how the next phase goes.
But the fact that we're even talking about Canada soccer having a target on their back at any point in any game, that's amazing to me.
In the span of 6-8 years, Canada went from being an afterthought in its own conference to a top three, and depending on, I guess, what happens with the U.S. tonight, like all three of them are round of 16 qualifiers right now. The U.S. could go all the way to the quarters if they manage to get through Belgium today, but they're all on equal footing. They're very close. The FIFA rankings will suggest that one's higher than the other by a few spots, but they're all very close, the big three of CONCACAF right now. Justin, hashtag WW What We Learned. The more I watch Erling Haaland in the World Cup, the more I'm convinced he's the Norwegian Ivan Drago. So we didn't spend a lot of time talking about the heroics yesterday. And really, Haaland was great. The man of the match was the keeper, Nyland, who was phenomenal for the Norwegian. And I think he's been the best keeper of the tournament thus far. I know there's the Paraguayan guy, Gil's been very good, and there's been a handful of other good goaltending performances as well, but Nyland has been very good start to finish. He stopped a penalty in that match, made several huge saves in the second half. Haaland's going to get the exploits, and rightfully so. What you saw yesterday, and a couple people alluded to this when talking about Canada's lack of finishing, is how the match worked for him. Through 74 minutes of the match, he was an afterthought. He was not involved. He didn't have a very big impression on it. And then in two instances, the cross swung in, I think it was from Berg, that he headed home.
Mm-hmm.
And then the finish with the left, just an unbelievable strike, the confidence in which he did it. And that's what we're talking about at the highest levels, top 10 players and teams in the world, is it's not about 90 minutes of pressing and creating chances and, having more possession and having a higher expected goals total. It's taking whatever chances you're given and having the ability, the finesse, the power to finish those.
And you might only get a couple.
If you get one, can you finish one? And Canada couldn't on Saturday. And then what you saw with Haaland, now granted, Haaland's maybe the most elite finisher in the world, but that's what we're talking about at the highest levels, is can you go 80 of the 90 minutes doing nothing, and then when a chance falls to you, are you able to take advantage of it and put it in the back of the net?
I know
Haaland did twice.
Haaland's star power was pretty great already, but does this even increase the performance that he had in terms of North American exposure?
Right now, Bruff and I talked about this last week. Right now, he is the most influential player to his team. And I know it's funny because I just said he wasn't man of the match yesterday, but he's not surrounded by the kind of star power that Messi has with Argentina, that Mbappe has with France, and that Kane has with England. And those are your leading goal scorers of the tournament right now. There's 3 on 7 goals. Mbappe, Messi, and Haaland are all tied on 7 goals for the Golden Boot. Kane's right behind with 6. And this isn't to say that Erling Haaland doesn't have good players around him, because he absolutely does. But no star player has driven things like Haaland has with Norway. It's just a different level. And yesterday it was inevitable that if they were going to win and if they found the back of the net, it was going to be him, because he scored in every match that they've had. It's truly impressive. Truly impressive.
Mike, in Burnaby, the Leafs might have more former Canucks on their team than the Canucks. Bluger, Joshua, Tanev, Stetcher. Yeah, and they signed Cole McWard, too. Did you see that?
I saw it.
Just signing everybody.
I saw it because you put it in the notes, and I was forced to acknowledge it. How many?
He played NHL games last year. I didn't even realize that.
Did he not start the season on Hughes's pairing? Cole McWard?
Not this past year.
No. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it?
Not sure, but he played with the Islanders this year. He played 3 games.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
And now he's a Toronto Maple
And now
Leaf.
he's a Maple Leaf. They signed him to a multi-year deal.
This
Well
is a 2-way
done.
contract, no?
It's
gotta be.
Yes.
Okay.
But hey, good for him. I'm happy for Cole McWard. He's finally got out of the Canucks system and into a better place.
Mike the teacher, hashtag WW What We Learned. Ricola is set to offer Harry Kane the highest throat lozenge sponsorship of all time, or at least they should. That interview was hilarious. We don't have it at the ready, do we? We really should have probably prepped and got this. No,
I don't know if we're allowed to play walk-off.
We cannot play with
Oh,
it.
that's right. Yeah,
it's from
okay.
the World Cup.
Okay, so this is good. Just to remind Mike the teacher, we've done some artful dodging over the last couple weeks, trying to have FIFA adjacent audio in interviews.
It's tough.
I did not realize this until we were doing the pre-match show. You actually can't conduct an interview with a journalist in the building. They have to physically step outside.
Oh, that's strict, eh?
Yeah, and obviously it goes without saying, any interview conducted within a FIFA stadium during the World Cup is a no-go for replay. So yeah, we couldn't even play the Harry Kane one. Harry Kane had completely lost his voice. There was a really great moment. You can see the video on socials now where he finds equally lanky England striker Kevin. Sorry, you got it? Peter Crouch. He finds Peter Crouch. Sorry. And they have this embrace, but they're yelling at the top of their lungs at one another. And I can imagine when Harry Kane got to the interview, he was like, this is going to be a long one. Minute and a half long, and it felt a lot longer.
You've done a good impression of what he sounded like.
My voice is a little sore. I admittedly was at the Fan Fest yesterday, and I was having a good time. I'll be better tomorrow. We will all be better tomorrow, except for Greg, and possibly better than how good you were today.
Well, I joked on the inbox. I haven't taken a single defensive zone face-off the entire show, so I appreciate it.
Old sheltered minutes Balloch over here. We got to get out of here for today, but we will be back tomorrow. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for contributing. Signing off, I've been Mike Halford. He's been Greg Balloch. He's been A-Dog, and he's been a regular Zach. This has been the Halford and Bruff Show on Sportsnet 650.